Hello and welcome to the Gary Dunn Show for October 2nd, 2018. I'm your host, Gary Smith. And on today's show, we're going to talk to a very happy Coach Dunn about this past Saturday's game against IUP. We're going to look ahead to this week's opponent, Clarion, and then we're going to, in between, look at the standings and schedules and everything else, all PSAC football related. But, Coach, first of all, great win on Saturday. And you got to, anytime you put the lights on, the tickets have to come with a disclaimer. There's going to be some excitement, you know.
Yeah, what a great atmosphere at Adams Stadium. Just proud of the student turnout, the alumni turnout. Great night in California, but just to have that many people there, that had to be close to a sellout. A great atmosphere for college football.
Well, I tell you what, even looking at that game, when we get there about 3 hours before the game, you guys get there about the same time. There's not anybody in the parking lot, but you can kind of see and feel the build going during that afternoon. You could just see the people in the parking lot and the tailgates, and it was nice seeing all the flags and everything like that. And that transitioned right into the game. And I tell you what, that your team really fed off that crowd, that home crowd.
Absolutely. We have a pregame meal here at the Student Center beforehand. Then we have recruits come in, and we go meet with the recruits, and then so our coaching staff gets up a little bit after our guys. And when I pulled in, the tailgates were already rolling. A lot of the Greek Life, Acacia, AKL, a couple sororities were out there tailgating. I try and stop by and thank them, and what a great crowd. And you could just kind of feel it building throughout the pregame that it was going to be a special night.
And it was a special night once the game was kicked off. I mean, Coach, it was a classic Cal IUP football game. I mean, there was a lot of twists and turns. If it was a play, it'd probably be a 9-act play because there were just so many sub-stories in there. But, your team, no panic, got down 14-0, but your coaching staff made some adjustments on both offense and defense, and it was an unbelievable thing to watch.
I think I said it a couple weeks ago. Our guys are just playing, and I think that's the thing I'm most happy about. They don't worry about the situation, and we preach that to them. Hey, play the next play. You can't, good, bad, indifferent, the play before, it doesn't matter. You got to play the next play. And I think I said it after the Edinburgh game. We had turned the ball over a bunch of times, and our defense just played. We got down 14-0. Nobody panicked. Everybody was calm. We had, I think, a big play in the game was that kickoff return and got us out to about midfield. Then we hit a long pass. Next thing you know, it's 14-7. And okay, calm down. We're back in this thing. But our guys are just playing. They're not playing situational football right now. They're just playing and battling and competing. And obviously, that's a really good thing.
Yeah, and I tell you what, also playing and competing, your team had a lot of balance on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, you have one of the top passers in the country right now, Noah Mitchell. You have, I think he's the #1 leading rusher in the conference right now with Nelson Brown, and a guy that's had 3 touchdowns in 3 straight games. That's great balance because a team can't just say, okay, we're going to take this off of you, beat us with this. I mean, it's two-sided sword.
Yeah, and that's who we want to be. From day one, we want to be a balanced offense, which doesn't necessarily mean we want to throw it as many times as we run it. We want to be able to do both effectively. And I thought Saturday was a true test of that. I think Noah had 250 yards, didn't turn the ball over. Nelson had over 100, well over 100. When we're doing that and we can distribute the ball to our playmakers, Tyson Hill had a big game. Chad Livingston came up with some big catches. Cam Tarrant had a huge catch. So when we can distribute it and make them defend all of our eligible receivers as well as run the ball, I think that's who we want to be offensively, and that's when we're at our best. And I think Saturday night was a great example of that.
And the offensive line probably had their best game of the year because they kind of, when you were grinding it out from tough yards and also giving Noah Mitchell some time to pass, but that was, they really imposed their will there in the second half of that game when it was crunch time.
Completely agree. IUP's front four is really good. They got 2 defensive ends that are as good as anybody in the country rushing the passer, and we did not give up a sack. They were leading the conference coming in sacks. To not give up a sack, that's a testament to the offensive line, but also open some of those holes in the run game was big. And Noah gets the ball out quick, so our guys like pass blocking for him because it's on rhythm. He's getting it out, and hats off to the offensive line and the tight ends because they did a really nice job Saturday night.
I know on the other side of the ball, Coach, coming into last week's game, all the stories and things you read was about the offense of IUP, but I thought your defense really put the clamp down. A big interception that changed momentum, and then the big play, Lamont McFadder 100-yard interception return that really turned up the volume in Adamson Stadium. Is probably one of the signature plays in Cal history, to be honest.
I completely agree. Our defense is playing with a lot of confidence. We went out early and we gave up a couple touchdowns, which is okay. I mean, they're a good offense. They had a good scheme. They've got good people doing it. But our defense was battling. I thought in those first 2 drives, we had a couple third downs that we could have got off the field. But you take those 2 drives out of the game, they scored 3 points on our defense the rest of the way after that. We had obviously the kickoff return for a touchdown. But they kick a field goal the rest of the game after the first 2 drives against our defense. Our defense is playing with a lot of confidence right now, and I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. You know, when we play assignment football and we execute the plan defensively, we're pretty good, and our guys are buying in. I think our defensive staff with Coach Craig and Coach Mock and Coach Rogish and Coach Davila, you know, those guys are putting good plans together, and our guys are buying in. And you know, the turnovers were huge. You know, Brendan Blair, I thought he probably played his best football game in his career at Cal U. You know, to get an interception, to recover a fumble, I thought he was all over the field. And then the interception, I mean, that's just Lamont. You know, we've talked about him before. He plays so hard that he's always around the ball. And we teach our guys, when you play hard, good things happen to you. And I think him and offensively Chad Livingston are examples of that. You know, and Lamont, you know, when he gets the ball in his hands, he's got one thing in mind and score. And you see London Cloud get out and throw a big block, and you see Gerald Brown, a true freshman defensive tackle, beating everybody else down the field. Just great effort by Lamont, but also great effort by his teammates, you know, escorting him into the end zone for what I agree was a huge, huge play.
Yeah, and I tell you what, when you'll see the replay here in a couple seconds, that was one thing that struck me watching the game, is the number of black jerseys that were going down trying to escort him in the end zone. You mentioned Chad Livingston. I thought the touchdown catch when he got hammered in the end zone and hang on, that was a huge momentum changer too, because that, you know, it was at that point in the game where teams were exchanging scores, and for him to hang on, he got the crowd into it, and then a little backflip as he was coming back to the huddle.
I don't know about the backflip. That's not something that we teach, but you know, but that's him. He plays with energy and emotion. He loves football. You know, that's just him. But it was a great night, and for us to keep battling back. You know, you look at in the game, we finally take the lead. You know, and then we kick off and we give up the long kickoff return for a touchdown. And okay, we get the ball back, we go right down and score. There was momentum swifts, but our guys just keep fighting and battling, and that's what we preach.
Well, let's take a look at the exciting action this past Saturday night at Adamson Stadium under the lights for Coal Bowl number 10, a great California victory. And after the break, we'll look at the upcoming opponent Clarion, and we'll look at all the scores and standings around the PSAC. You're watching the Gary Dunn Show right here on CUTV.
Nelson Brown gets the give yet again, right up the middle of the field, and gets into the end zone for a touchdown for the Vulcans. As Lenny Williams goes over the middle of the field, throws into the arms of Brendan Blair just like that, as he goes across the 45-yard line, staying on his feet, stiff arms one guy, gets across the 50-yard line. Mitchell looking back to throw, going left, over to Chad Livingston, into the end zone, gets 2 feet down, and a flag on the play. Nelson Brown makes a football move right into the end zone, high steps his way untouched for another California touchdown. Gets the give over to Nelson Brown, staying on his feet, pushing forward, gets across the 5, trying to get into the end zone, and we'll see what the call is, and it's into the end zone. Marshawn Lynch, beast mode. Now an interception just like that. Lamont McBatter coming up with the interception, has open space in front of him. Adamson Stadium is his when it comes to turnovers. Marches right down the field, puts up the number 1 side.
They're going to get him with the Gatorade as he gets the hug. So how about that? The biggest upset in California history, knocking down the number 2 team in the country.
Saturdays are for the Vulcans. At Ohio Dominican, at Kutztown, at Shippensburg, home versus Edinburgh, Coal Bowl versus IUP, at Clarion, Homecoming versus Gannon. At Mercyhurst. Home versus Slippery Rock. At Seton Hill. Home versus Westchester. Catch all the action live on CUTV and WCAL.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
Get in the way and disrupt the situation.
Notify an authority.
Or walk them home safely.
We can change the language around rape.
We can make campuses safer for our teammates, our friends, and our classmates.
We cannot be bystanders.
Taking action isn't always easy, but it's on us
to intervene.
because we can. Learn more and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Here gets the ball, drops back in the pocket, looking to throw. Over in the area of, I believe that is going to be Luke Smorey, and it will be, as he took advantage right there. Look, a little bit of a speed difference as Luke Smorey just burned his defender. Michael here in that shotgun set, drops back to throw, stepping up in the pocket. Looks like he's just going to keep the ball and get into the end zone. We're going to see, and there is the sign that that was a touchdown. Gets the ball and looking to throw. An interception there for California, and Brennan Edwards stepping up and getting into the end zone. Defensive effort for California puts even more points on the board. As Clarion pushes up, and actually Woolard's going to keep it. They're going to say he did not get it. Gives it off to McGriff, and McGriff finds Pater getting into the end zone for the Golden Eagles. Dropping back to throw, feeling the pressure in the middle of the field. Johnson brings it in, but it will be short of the goal line. That is a touchdown. Same place, same spot. Mason Standard gets into the end zone. Kick is up, and it is blocked, as that is now another blocked kick for California special teams. Now Evans is going to get right into the end zone. Drops back, looking to throw. California's defense is right there, and the ball comes out, and it will be no good. The attempt is no good.
And welcome back to the Gary Dunn Show. I'm your host, Gary Smith. And Coach, we just looked back at last year's game against Clarion on homecoming. Saw at the beginning of the clip, recognized the 2007 NCAA, I believe, semifinalists that year. So great to recognize them. And it's hard to believe that was a year ago on homecoming, but time goes pretty fast. And that was a game that, Cal was up big. And we were talking a little bit, Clarion's a team that, you never really know. They're kind of like Forrest Gump's chocolate. You never know what you're going to get. They're either going to be powerhouse on offense and not much defense, or vice versa. And this year, you were saying, looking on tape, they're pretty solid on both sides of the ball.
Absolutely, and I think the thing you always know you're going to get with Clarion, those guys are going to play hard. We were up. It's kind of funny. We were up 21-0 there, and they came back and really our defense held in the red zone last year a couple times to allow us to get a win. They're playing really well right now. They're 4-1. They've won their last 4 games. Defensively, upperclassman-oriented defense, really, really good defensive line, solid linebackers, good cover corners. It's going to be a tough test up there. It's and I say it every week in the PSAC, but more this week. These guys are playing with a lot of confidence right now, winning their last 4, and it's going to be a test. We're going to have to play our best football.
And it's that time of the year that everyone's looking. You're in the middle of the season. Teams are starting to separate one way or the other, and there's always going to be a logjam around this time of year. And this is a game that, winner of this game could kind of control an inside track for the PSAC West title.
Absolutely. And, they're, like I said, really strong defensively, run a lot of RPO scheme, very similar to us on offense, playing a couple quarterbacks that can deliver the ball, got some playmakers on the outside, solid running game. It's going to be a test. We were in Sunday morning after the IUP game, and usually about 1 o'clock we flip over to watching the opponent. And, boy, they jump off the tape at you how well they're playing right now.
And they're a team that, historically, I know things have changed with, players change, coaches change, but it seems like historically they're a team that plays a little bit better at home than on the road, because we've seen some crazy games up at Clarion, especially this weekend. It's their Autumn Leaf Festival, and they seem, to kind of get geared up. The whole town gets geared up for that game.
Yeah, and I agree. They we went up there 2 years ago and really had a close game with them, and then obviously we had a really close game with them last year. They're well coached. They're sound on defense. They have a nice scheme on offense. So it's going to be a tough one. That's for sure.
Now, you said their offense, they're running multiple quarterbacks, but do we see either of the quarterbacks last year? I know that it seems like last couple of years that they've run multiple quarterbacks against everybody.
Yeah, no, the one kid played last year. The kid that started the game against us last year is no longer there. But he's a talented kid from North Allegheny High School. That's a big 6'3", 6'4" guy that can deliver the ball. He's mobile. He's doing a really nice job, and then they sprinkle in another kid a little bit. So we got to prepare for both, and we really got to be assignment football this week with all the RPOs and different things that they do. We've got to be on top of our game.
And that game is going to be Saturday at Clarion. It's a 2 o'clock kickoff. If you can't be there, we'll tell all the other information, but it'll be live on 91.9 FM WCAO. And Coach, you said something just now that kind of made me think, the quarterback from North Allegheny. I know we've talked about it before, but, in this conference, there's a lot of players that have played against each other coming up through high school just because, all the schools are fairly close, and
sure.
all the coaching staffs are recruiting from generally the same pool. But what's that like for the players to play against guys, all throughout high school, and then maybe teammates playing against each other in college?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, and I'll give you a great example. Brendan Blair had played at Stowe Rocks High School, and Lenny Williams, IUP's quarterback, played at Stowe Rocks, and they're great friends. Mm-hmm. So you got a linebacker going after a quarterback all night long. I talked to Blair about it yesterday. They're great friends, and they're going to be, they'll be friends for the rest of their life. We've got some guys this week that have teammates up there, so it's always interesting to hear them talk. And it's earlier in the year we had twin brothers play against each other. And that's the neat thing about this league is there is a lot of close relationships, and you recruit the same guys. Your coaches see each other on the road all the time, and it's really what's special about this league.
And talking about this league, that's a great segue, Coach, into looking at the scoreboard from this past weekend. The second week of divisional play in the PSAC. You can never get old of looking at that first score. California over IUP, 36-24. Gannon at Edinburgh in a close one at Edinburgh, 31-24. Slippery Rock at home against Mercyhurst, winning by 20. And then this week's opponent, Clarion, at Seton Hill. And that game was a close one. But again, Seton Hill is a team that always seems to play well at home. That game was at Seton Hill, so Clarion coming out with a 3-point win. And then switching over to the PSAC East. Last Thursday, Millersville squeaked by East Stroudsburg 11-10. Kutztown over Bloomsburg. And that score, when I saw that, Coach, kind of surprised me about, not that Kutztown won, but just that 34-point win. That's a good Kutztown team that we saw earlier this year. Westchester over Shippensburg, and probably the second game of the week after our game, 28-21, and then Lock Haven, not having Cheney on the schedule this year, picked up a game at Texas A&M Commerce. And Texas A&M Commerce is one of the top 10, 15 teams in the country, won 68-6. So full day of football on Saturday, and let's take a look at the standings, how everything shakes out after week 2. And you see Clarion, Slippery Rock, California all on top at 2-0, and then Edinburgh IUP 1-1, and then Mercyhurst, Gannon, Seton Hill 0-2. But what always amazes me in the PSAC East or West, if you look on the right side, the overall records, Coach, look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams with winning records. And it's just tough.
Good football coaches. You know, it's a grind. And you know, you look at Clarion sitting atop the league with 2-0, 4-1, and playing really good football now. Slippery Rock's playing good football. You know, obviously Edinboro, you know, bounced back after we beat them here a couple weeks ago, and then Indiana's was the second-ranked team in the country, and so it's, you know, you got to strap them up every week. You got to show up ready to play, and you know, especially when you're on the road.
It's a fun conference to watch as a fan. So if you're out there, somehow you found us online and aren't sure about what conference to follow in D2, if you're out there watching in the western part of the world, check out the PSAC. And let's look at the East. Westchester, the lone 2-0 team, and then Kutztown, Lockhaven 1-0, Bloomsburg, Millersville 1-1, and Shippensburg and East Stroudsburg 0-2. And again, you know, top two teams are undefeated. So like I said, there's good football all across the state of Pennsylvania. Now let's take a look at this upcoming week's schedule. It's a full slate of games and a full slate of game times. 3 games at noon: Edinboro at Mercyhurst, Millersville at Lockhaven, and then Seton Hill at Gannon. And then there's one 1 o'clock game. LIU Post travels to Shippensburg, and then a trio of 2 o'clock games highlighted by our California at Clarion. We also see Westchester at Bloom, Slippery Rock at IUP, and then the nightcap at 6:05 Kutztown at East Stroudsburg. And Coach, I always ask you, but I think I know what your answer is going to be. If you're not going to the Cal game, if you're just a fan of football, what's the other game on the schedule that you would send people to watch?
Yeah, 2 games. Obviously, Slippery Rock at Indiana is always a big rivalry game, and you know, I think that's Indiana's homecoming. That's going to be a really, really good football game. And then, you know, the battle up at Erie, Edinboro at Mercyhurst is, you know, Mercyhurst is a really good football team, really well coached that has come out short a couple weeks, but they're a really good team. And then obviously Edinboro's having a great year. So those are 2 games that I'm watching. It's kind of funny. We went into the office on Saturday afternoon and you know, you had the Clemson game on, and we were watching Westchester versus Shippensburg. So that'll tell you what we do as coaches. So it's you know, great league, and going to be some interesting matchups this weekend.
And a reminder to the fans, you know, with the PSAC network, all the home games are live streamed. So always check out sports, of course, calvulcans.com for our schedule. But then if you go to the PSAC league site, all the games that are available to stream. There'll be live links. And you know, like you just said there, I know a bunch of my friends were, before our game, they were kind of searching around online to see what other games were on. So if you're a football fan, this is the age to live in. It's not like the old days where you have to wait on the street corner a day later to see who won the game. You can pretty much see what's happening live as it's happening, and anywhere in the country.
Everywhere. It's awesome.
Well, Coach, awesome. Congratulations on the win Saturday, and good luck this coming Saturday. A great, safe trip up to Clarion. And once again, if you can't be there, it's only a 2-hour trip, so we'd like to see, I know Coach would love to see a great red and black contingent in the visiting bleachers. You see that 2 o'clock, actually 1 o'clock. That might have changed since I made that graphic back in May. Check calvulcans.com for the actual game
2
time.
o'clock.
It's 2 o'clock. That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to thank Vulcan Nation for showing out on Saturday night. You know, what a great atmosphere, great crowd. Well, I know we'll have a great crowd at Clarion, and then in 2 weeks, you know, we come back for homecoming. So, you know, just happy with the fans, and Saturday night was awesome. We're putting it to bed. We're moving on to Clarion, but just wanted to thank the folks that came out. It was a special night. And
come on out to Clarion. Like I said, it's a short drive, and it's Autumn Leaf Festival, so you can swing by, get some funnel cake before the game, and cheer on the Vulcans. And if you can't make the trip, the game will be live on 91.9 FM WCAL. We're still figuring out things for CUTV. There's some changes at Clarion Stadium, so we may have to work some things out. If not, they will have to have a live stream. So if not, CUTV back for homecoming. But we'll be there, at least shooting highlights and cheering on the Vulcans. So, Coach, safe travels this week, and we'll see you up at Clarion.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
For Coach Dunn, I'm Gary Smith. You're watching The Gary Dunn Show right here on CUTV.